Ever heard someone say, "I'm doing a repo," and wondered what they were talking about? You probably haven't. I mean, who goes around announcing they're doing repos? Well, hold on to your financial hats because we're about to dive into the world of repurchase agreements, the financial market's equivalent of, "I'll buy back that sandwich I just sold you tomorrow. Pinky promise." A repurchase agreement, or repo for short, is essentially a short-term loan where securities are used as collateral. Think of it as a financial version of pawning your grandmother's jewellery. Except instead of jewellery, we're talking about government bonds and other securities, and instead of your local pawn shop, it's major financial institutions doing the dealing. Let's break it down with a simple example. Imagine you're a bank, congratulations on the promotion, and you have $100 million in Treasury bonds. You need some quick cash to meet your daily obligations. Maybe the coffee machine broke, and replacing it for the entire bank is expensive. Okay, more likely it's for meeting reserve requirements, but the coffee machine scenario is more relatable. Here's where the repo market comes in handy. You approach another financial institution and say, "Hey, want to buy these Treasury bonds for $98 million. I'll buy them back tomorrow for $98 million plus $20,000. The difference between the sale price and repurchase price, $20,000 in this case, is effectively the interest on the loan. This is what finance folks call the repo rate, and it's basically the price tag for your temporary cash infusion. Now you might be thinking, why not just get a regular loan? Well, my financially curious friend, repos are like the express checkout lane of the lending world. They're typically overnight deals, though some can run longer. They're considered super safe because they're backed by high quality collateral, and they usually offer better rates than traditional loans. It's like getting the Amazon Prime of lending. Faster, cheaper, and with free delivery. Okay, maybe not that last part. The repo market is absolutely massive. We're talking trillions of dollars changing hands daily. It's basically the plumbing of the financial system, keeping money flowing smoothly between institutions. Without repos, the financial world would be about as efficient as a chocolate teapot. Here's where it gets interesting. And by interesting, I mean potentially scary. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? Repos played a starring role in that drama when institutions started doubting the quality of collateral being offered, particularly those mortgage-backed securities that turned out to be about as reliable as a chocolate fireguard. The repo market seized up faster than a computer running Windows Vista. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about reverse repos, which is exactly what it sounds like, except it isn't. Clear as mud, right? A reverse repo is just a repo from the opposite perspective. If you're the one lending the money and receiving the collateral, you're engaging in a reverse repo. It's like calling a buy order a reverse sell. It's all about perspective. The repo market also has some colourful terminology that makes it sound like a spy novel. There's the haircut, the difference between the market value of the asset and the amount you can borrow against it. Tri-party repos, where a third party acts as a repo matchmaker, and general collateral, the boring but safe stuff everyone accepts as collateral. Here's another fun example. Let's say you're a hedge fund manager, fancy, and you spot an arbitrage opportunity, but you need some government bonds to execute your brilliant strategy. Instead of buying them outright, you can enter into a repo agreement to temporarily get those bonds. It's like renting a tuxedo for a wedding. You look sharp, get the job done, and return it when you're finished. The Federal Reserve also uses repos and reverse repos as tools for monetary policy. When they want to inject money into the banking system, they enter into repos. When they want to mop up excess liquidity, they do reverse repos. It's like being the parent who either gives allowance or takes it away, depending on how the financial system is behaving. Let's explain how the Federal Reserve uses repos as a crucial monetary policy tool. When the Fed does a repo operation, they're essentially buying securities from banks with an agreement to sell them back later. This injects money into the banking system, like turning up the money supply volume. For example, if banks are running a bit tight on cash, and overnight lending rates are creeping up, the Fed might step in and offer to do repos with banks. They'll buy Treasury securities from the banks for, say, $500 billion, providing them with immediate cash, with an agreement to sell those securities back the next day at a slightly higher price. The reverse repo facility, RRP, works in the opposite direction. When there's too much cash sloshing around in the system, like during the pandemic, when stimulus measures created excess liquidity, the Fed uses reverse repos to temporarily drain some of that money. Financial institutions park their extra cash at the Fed overnight in exchange for securities, effectively reducing the money supply. It's like a financial paper towel soaking up excess liquidity. A real-world example happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, the Fed's reverse repo facility saw unprecedented usage, often exceeding $1 trillion per day. This happened because banks and money market funds had tons of cash from stimulus measures, but limited places to invest it safely. The Fed's RRP facility provided a safe parking spot for all this extra cash, while paying a modest interest rate. If you remember our video on modern central banks, you will remember that the Fed pays banks for holding reserves. This is another way for banks to earn money on their extra cash. Seems like the Fed is being extra generous these days. The Fed uses these tools for several key purposes. 1. Fine-tuning short-term interest rates to keep them within their target range. 2. Managing overall liquidity in the banking system. 3. Responding quickly to market stress or unusual conditions. 4. Providing a safety valve for excess cash in the financial system. The repo market actually had a significant hiccup in September 2019, when repo rates suddenly spiked from around 2% to almost 10%. This repo market crisis forced the Fed to step in with emergency lending to calm markets down. It was like a cardiac event in the financial system's plumbing, highlighting just how important these operations are for maintaining stable markets. Today, the Fed's repo operations serve as a crucial backstop for the financial system. They've created standing facilities, always available repo and reverse repo windows that help maintain market stability by providing reliable options for lending or borrowing, using Treasury securities as collateral. Think of it as the Fed running a highly sophisticated pawn shop that only deals in government securities, using it to either pump money into the system, repos, or drain it out, reverse repos, as needed to keep the economy humming along at just the right tempo. You might ask an important question at this point. Why aren't reserves enough? I mean, if the Fed wants to release a bunch of liquidity into the system, it could lower the rate it pays on reserves, inducing banks to lower their reserves and thus releasing liquidity. And it can do the opposite if it wants to reduce liquidity into the system. Not so fast. Reserves are long-term tools to change the interest rate. If the Fed went around changing the interest rate daily, things could get too volatile. To make sure that the market has enough liquidity daily, another tool is needed. This is new stuff. William Patterson had no clue that his original idea would get this complicated. And maybe there is an argument here about central banks being a bit too involved in daily operations. I mean, banks are adults, right? Babysitting them doesn't seem like an optimal use of the Fed's time. To wrap this up, repurchase agreements are the unsung heroes of the financial world. They keep the markets liquid, provide a safe place for short-term cash investment, and offer a flexible funding tool for financial institutions. So next time someone mentions repos, you can confidently say, yes, the financial equivalent of lending your lawnmower to your neighbour with a contract to buy it back tomorrow, but with way more zeros involved. Just maybe don't use that analogy in a job interview at Goldman Sachs. Stay tuned, money enthusiasts.